Hey everybody, happy Blockheads Wednesday. This week is week 15, block 15 of group 2 of Blockheads 5. So this week we are now officially halfway through the second group of Blockheads 5. So we've got 30 blocks total for this second group, and it's hard to believe that we're already halfway through. This week's guest designer is Sutton of Bunny Hill Designs, and she's brought us the lovely Keepsake block this week. So after stretching our technical skills last week with foundation paper piecing, we're going back to traditional piecing this week. We're going to be making some half square triangles and some flying geese in a really lovely block design that gives you lots of options for playing around with fabric placement and color choices. So here's my finished block, and I just love how it turned out. This was a really fun one to stitch up. It's a quick stitch. You're going to have it put together in absolutely no time. Okay, let's look at our fabric cutting for this week. I'm making the 6-inch block, so I'll be using these cutting instructions for my block. And then if you want to make the 12-inch block, you're going to look at these cutting instructions. So I've got my A and B squares right here. These are for my 4-corner half square triangles. We'll do 2 at a time, half square triangles. Then I've got my C and D square here. These are for my 4 at a time flying geese right here. Then I've got my E rectangle for this outside piece that goes with the flying geese. And then I've got my F square for the center of my star. Step 1 is to make our 2 at a time half square triangles. So if you've been watching these videos for a while, you know that I like to cut my squares in half first before I sew them. It just makes it easier for me to get a really consistent seam if I have a straight edge to sew along. I also starch my fabrics, so I don't really have a whole lot of trouble with sewing on that bias, but I know a lot of people aren't crazy about doing that. So I've got the instructions here that walk you through making your 2 at a time half square triangles. For me, I'm going to go ahead and put my squares together, right sides together, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut right on this diagonal line and stitch my half square triangles that way. I do give you cutting instructions so that you have oversized half square triangles that you'll trim down. So let me cut and stitch these, and then we'll talk about trimming them down. Okay, I've cut my squares, but before I stitch them, I just wanted to say that I'm going to press towards the darker fabric once I'm done stitching these. So I like to sew with the darker fabric on top, or with whatever fabric I'm going to be pressing the seam towards, I put that on top. So if I were pressing towards this lighter fabric, I'd have it on top. And I just like to do that. It's just a habit that I have gotten into, and I don't know, I think it makes pressing go just a little bit faster if I have everything lined up that way, especially since I chain piece. But so I'm going to press these towards the darker fabric once they're stitched. Okay, my half square triangles are pressed and ready to trim. So let's take a look and see how much we have in terms of a little bit of overage. So I like to make sure that my seam is lined up on this 45-degree line here on my ruler. And so we've got a bit to trim away. And I love having oversized units that I get to trim down. It just gives a nice, precise unit when we're done. So I always like to work with slightly oversized cutting instructions so that we can trim down and get really accurate units once we've trimmed away. Another thing I love to use when I'm trimming is a rotating cutting mat. It just makes trimming so much faster. Let me trim down my half square triangles and we'll be ready to move on to the next step. Okay, my pretty little half square triangles are trimmed to 2.5 inches because I'm making the 6-inch block. If you're making the 12-inch block, you would have trimmed them to 4.5 inches. So now these are done and ready to set aside, and we can move on to the next step, which is to make our 4 at a time flying geese. So if you've been watching the videos, I've said before, and I'll say it again, this is my new favorite way to make flying geese. I used to not like this method, and then I learned about the larger measurements. I found some larger measurements, so I had some, so I would end up with oversized flying geese that I could trim down, and that was a game changer for me. So now this is my favorite way to make flying geese because it's so much more efficient and it is a whole lot faster, in my opinion. So I know not everyone's crazy about this method, so I will have the stitch and flip instructions in our blog post. But if you want to use the method we have here, I have all the instructions in your pattern. And we'll start by stitching the first 2 squares down and trimming and pressing the triangles out. And then we'll sew the other 2 squares to make our 4 flying geese. So let me start with stitching these, and then we'll go to the next part of this step. Okay, I've stitched down the top 2 squares for the first part of this 4 at a time flying geese method. Now you'll see that I didn't mark a line from corner to corner as we have in the pattern instructions. That's because I use seam tape, and so then that saves me from having to mark that line. So let me show you how it turns out in terms of the seam allowance when you use the seam tape on the bed and plate of your sewing machine. So if I were to cut this point to point, or if imagine that's my line, you can see I'm right on that 1/4 inch seam allowance line. And we would turn it around. Same thing, a little bit scant, which is good. That's what I like anyway. If you haven't tried the seam tape, I definitely recommend it. It's such a great time saver. And a couple weeks ago, I showed a more detailed step-by-step of this flying geese method. And I also showed what it will look like with the seam tape. I just put some seam tape on my cutting mat to show you guys how it would look as you're placing your fabric on your sewing machine bed to stitch it. So definitely check that out. I will link that video in the description of this video so that you can go back and watch it if you didn't see it. Okay, so next I'm going to cut these 2 pieces apart and press out these triangles, and then I'll add the last 2 squares to wrap up my flying geese. All right, we're halfway through making our 4 at a time flying geese. This is what that unit looks like when I've pressed the triangles out. So now I'm going to take another one of my C squares, and I'm going to place it right sides together, and I'm going to stitch a scant 1/4 inch seam on either side of what would be point to point here. I'm going to use my seam tape on my sewing machine to help me get that accurate seam without having to mark a line. And I'll do that for both of these pieces. And once I cut those apart, I'll have 4 flying geese. Okay, I wanted to show you guys, I chain piece everything, and so this is just a kind of a like behind the curtain peek, because as I'm making my traditional block for the videos every week, I'm also always making my Americana block. And when I first started sewing, I had heard about this chain piecing thing, but couldn't really visualize it. So if you're kind of new to sewing or you haven't done a lot of chain piecing, it just goes so fast. I just am able to zip through everything, and it saves me a lot of time rather than stopping and starting with each little seam that I do. So I chain piece all of these flying geese or my half square triangles, and they'll look like this, and it's a really efficient way to sew, in my opinion. So I've got these all stitched now, and I'll trim right here on this line. I've mentioned before that for small units like this, I will not use my rotary cutter. I will use my fabric shears. It just goes so much faster when I do that. So I will trim these and then press out the last triangle, and that's how I'm going to get my flying geese. And then we'll be ready to trim down our flying geese to the appropriate size. For snipping threads, I mentioned these last week in passing, but I wanted to give a bigger shout out to these. These are my Sew Line 5.5 inch snippets. These babies are super sharp. I love them. They're my favorite for snipping threads. And so I keep those handy all the time. And then when I'm ready to trim or cut these apart, there's kind of a trick. A lot of you probably know this already, but I use my fingers as a base for the bottom half of my shears. So I am not, so I have a little bit of leverage. I'm not just sort of cutting kind of wildly. It just gives me a little bit more support for making that cut. And then I'll just snip away here, and it just goes a lot faster than bringing out my rotary blade for trimming cutting apart those flying geese. Okay, my flying geese are ready to trim. So the trick to trimming down oversized flying geese is to know the halfway point of your trim down measurement. So I want to trim these flying geese for my 6-inch block to 1.5 inches by 2.5 inches. So 1.5 inches tall by 2.5 inches wide. So half of 2.5 is going to be 1.25. So this point right here needs to be at the 1.25 inch mark on my ruler when I'm trimming it down. And that's how I'm going to get nice, even flying geese. Now, if you were making the 12-inch block, you would trim it to 2.5 inches by 4.5 inches. So your halfway mark, or your point of your flying geese, would be at the 2.25 inch mark on your ruler. Okay, so here's what that looks like with our ruler on our flying geese unit here. So there is the 1.25 inch mark on my ruler, and you'll see I'm 1/4 inch down from the top of the ruler. So that's going to give me my 1/4 inch seam allowance here at the top, so I don't lose the point of my flying geese. I've got this 45-degree line lined up with the folded triangle here. So that's a good sign that everything's lining up properly. And I'll trim away here, and then I'll rotate the unit and line everything up again and trim it again. Okay, the next step is to join our E rectangles to our flying geese. So when I do that, I'm going to press these towards the rectangle after I've stitched these together. I'm ready to assemble my block now. So when I stitch the units together into rows, I'm going to press towards the half square triangles on the top and bottom row, and then I'm going to press towards the center square in that center row. When you're sewing your rows together, or even when you're sewing these the units into the rows, make sure you always have the flying geese on top so that you can make sure that you catch that point and you don't miss it and lose it in the seam. I wasn't thinking, and I was originally sewing this row together this way. I just wasn't paying attention, and I missed my point a little bit, and so I lost a little bit of my point, so I had to unpick it and redo it. Just remember, if you can see your flying geese, then you can make sure when your needle gets to this point here, if you have to ease it over just a little bit to make sure that you don't lose your point, then you can. But if you're sewing this way, you're sewing blind and you can't see that point. So just always have your flying geese facing up. And here is my finished keepsake block. So because I pressed towards the half square triangles as I was sewing the top and bottom rows together, and then towards that center square for the center row, my seams nested really nicely when I was joining the rows together. For this one, I did use a little bit of my Easy Press pen and Easy Press fabric treatment solution to press the rows open. There's some bulk, but on this version, my fabrics weren't super starched the way I normally like to have them, so it just didn't press quite as nicely, and so I used some of that Easy Press to help get a flatter seam. Now for my Americana block, this fabric was super starchy already, so I had like majorly starched this one a while ago, and I didn't have to use the Easy Press pen on this one. Now my stripe placement is intentional here. I wanted the stripes in my half square triangles to be going the same direction, and then I wanted to have the opposite direction for this piece. I just like the movement that it gave the block. I tried it first with the stripes running all the same direction around, and I just wasn't crazy about it. So I did intentionally mix up my stripe direction. Keepsake was such a fun block to stitch up. Thank you, Anne, for designing this really lovely block for us. It was a quick stitch, but still really satisfying. It's always nice to go back to some of those basic techniques that we use every week, and I can't wait to see everyone's variations on this design. If you haven't already joined us on Facebook, please do. We'd love to have you as part of our official Blockheads Facebook group. It's a great way to get lots of inspiration and ideas from your fellow quilters. And if you post your blocks to social media, don't forget to use the hashtag #ModaBlockheads5 so we can see your progress. Thanks so much for watching this week's video. I hope it was helpful, and I hope you enjoy stitching up your Keepsake block. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.